Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Pathways to Perform. This is your host, Kiesha Lalama. Our guest today is sure to inspire. He is an incredible human being and literally one of the most impressive people I've ever met in my life. Please welcome, so excited to have this conversation, the president of the Pittsburgh Pirates of Major League Baseball, Mr. Travis Williams. Hello.
Hello, Kiesha. How are you?
I'm excited. How are you?
Good. Thank you for that very kind introduction. I'm not sure if it's quite deserved. I always say you're the most passionate person that I've ever met in my life. So hopefully I can steal some of that.
I love it. Well, I am quite impressed by you, and I just adore you and your family. So I am extremely appreciative of you taking the time today. I think that the more research I did on you and your journey alone is enough to inspire so many young hopefuls that want to chase this kind of aspect of becoming a sports executive, this particular path. So I just appreciate you sharing your time with us today. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure and happy to share and hopefully inspire some young people to continue down their paths, follow their dreams.
Great. So I think I would like to start at the beginning. I mean, what exactly set you on your path to even go to law school and then transition? So let's go from the very beginning. And you're this young kid and says, I'm going to go to law school.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting dynamic because I actually started off as an engineering major in college at Penn State. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was in engineering for 2.5 years, did very well at it. Most people migrate because of grades. I actually had decent grades, but I realized I was in my junior year, in my first semester junior year, started to get into some of the smaller advanced classes and kind of looked to my left, looked to my right, and said, you know what? I love these people. They're really smart. Love what I'm doing, but not sure that this is really going to be the career path for me. Not sure this is exactly what I am, what I'm built to do for the rest of my career. And went home that Christmas. I'd done a little research before that. Went home to that Christmas and told my parents, you know what? 2.5 years of engineering, 2.5 years of engineering studies that I've done. I think I'm going to switch gears. I want to go to law school. And at the time, the advisors at Penn State suggested that I go into more of a liberal arts education, work on my research, my writing, oral presentation skills. And so I switched into, of all things, international politics, none of which I use today.
Wow. Okay. This is
so,
interesting.
so I did that with the mindset of preparing myself to eventually go to law school, which I was able to do at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh.
That is awesome. And
I
like international politics to
I don't
law.
know if my parents said those words when I came home.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, it's every parent's nightmare. Oh, so 2 years into this, you're changing your mind. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's no regrets now, and it's one of those
Oh,
things
no,
where,
it's worked out. It's worked out okay.
yeah. Well, and you knew deep down inside there was something else for you, and so
Yeah,
you knew you wanted to transition. And I think it's so important to follow that instinct, that gut instinct, knowing that you need to shift. So that was a smart decision.
exactly.
And
So
so, what made you transition even further from being a partner in a law firm to then becoming a sports executive? Because that's kind of different too.
no, I mean, I graduated law school. I had the good fortune of being able to stay in Pittsburgh and work at a large law firm, Reed Smith, based here in Pittsburgh. At the time I joined, it was about 350 lawyers. When I left, it was about close to 2,500 lawyers worldwide. And so it had, I kind of had grown with it. My background and experience mostly was in mergers and acquisitions and transactional type of work. I always fancied myself as somebody who I was never built for the courtroom. Didn't see myself as a litigator. I viewed myself more as helping people achieve what they wanted to achieve, their business objectives through doing deals. And so putting things together, building teams, and making transactions happen. But early in my career, out of happenstance, I got a call from probably within the first 2 weeks of my time at Reed Smith, got a call from a senior partner, Dave Danino. And he called me to his office and said, hey, we just helped Kevin McClatchy buy the Pittsburgh Pirates. and we need to have a sponsorship deal done for them. They needed it written up, and we don't have anybody here at the firm that's ever done it before. Would you like to research sponsorship deals, putting them together, how they work, sitting down with the Pirates and understanding it? And so my first deal, one of my first early transactions in sports, was actually for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the sponsor was, of all things, what is now Allegheny Health Network. And so my career has somewhat come full circle because they're one of our largest partners and I'm working for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that's really how that happened. And it just snowballed from there, where I got called upon to do lots of different things within sports. And I still started to have a real affinity for it. It was never really a full-time piece of my practice, where I was doing it day in and day out, but it probably was about 25% of my practice. And interestingly enough, I did deals for the Pirates as outside general counsel. I ended up working and helping the Buffalo Sabres ownership group at one time acquire the team and then helped represent them. I did television rights deals for Fox Sports all over the country, in terms of buying their local rights from sports teams to be able to broadcast their games. I did naming rights deals. I've been involved in every naming rights deal in Pittsburgh on one side or the other. So I represented Heinz for Heinz Field. I represented Mellon when they did the Mellon Arena deal. And then when I went to the Penguins, I was on the other side of that and did the original Consol deal and then the PPG deal. And of course, with the Pirates, I had negotiated the PNC Park deal, both the original one and just the extension that we just did a few months ago. So I've been in and around kind of the Pittsburgh sports landscape and just build up my practice over time. And then out of the blue in 2008, based on that background, that skill set and experience, I got a call out of the blue from the Penguins. Their general counsel had left, and they asked me if I wanted to become their general counsel. I actually said to them, I'd like to come in-house and be their general counsel, but I want to do more. I'd like to learn more about the business side of it. And so when I took that opportunity, I came in and I not only was general counsel, but also oversaw the arena construction project for what is now PPG Paints Arena. So that was my first foray really into the business side, and oversaw that and brought it in on time, under budget, showed them that I could actually be a business executive. And they then asked me to be chief operating officer at that time. After I got that deal done, our president retired. Our president became CEO and president, and he asked me to step up on the business side. Started off more administrative, human resources, finance, legal, that aspect of the business. And then over time, got a chance to oversee sales and marketing. So I just continued to grow over time and learn more and more about the sports business, which is where it kind of led me to my position today.
Wow. Okay. So I'm thinking about that call in 2008 and just kind of want to circle back to that for a second. As you were doing these naming rights and kind of building this portfolio and branching out further into professional sports and the construction and all these different things, did you ever have an aha moment that this is it? This is what I should be doing, and this is what I want to do?
It probably wasn't, I kind of never really saw it as a career path for me. I thought it was kind of a fun piece of my practice. I'd made partner at Reed Smith. I was doing, mergers and acquisitions within financial services, within the wine industry, like a lot of different industries, right? And I had lots of opportunities to go in-house. I never really got excited about one, quite frankly, until I got the call from Ken Sawyer, who was the CEO at the time at the Penguins. And as I learned more about the opportunity and knew what they were trying to build, I got that kind of aha moment of, you know what, I can actually take my legal career, blend it with some business, oversee the arena construction project, put my thumbprint on the city of Pittsburgh in a real tangible way through that building, and let's see where this takes us. And Nikki, my wife, and I had those conversations around, you know what, you take risk in life. This is a risk that's pretty calculated and pretty easy to take. And if it doesn't work out, I can always go back to the practice of law. And of course, I haven't looked back since, and it's worked out fairly well.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you had that support from Nikki as well, saying, let's try, let's see what happens. It's so important to have that support.
Trust me, in this industry, if you don't have this support from your spouse and your kids, it's grueling at times, the hours that we work. But no, that support system is absolutely important. And it's been throughout that, every decision that I've made along the way of, I got the opportunity after being with the Penguins for 10 years to go to New York and pick up the family and go to Long Island, which was a huge move for us. Moving my wife, who was born and raised in Western Pennsylvania, taking her away from her family was not an easy decision or discussion. But she said, I know it's the right thing to do for you and your career and for us as a family. And let's embrace it. Let's dive into it. The kids, of course, as you know, are very involved in the arts. So for them, a couple of them in particular, moving up to New York and being closer to Broadway, I think was a huge hit for them.
Just kind of made sense. New York. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So for us, it was, it leveraged all that I had done at the Penguins, all that I had done at Reed Smith, to come in and run the business side for the New York Islanders, which was the move that was the opportunity that I was moving for. And it was really fun and interesting. It was grueling. Living away from my family for a period of time was not fun. I would not advise anybody to do it. I wouldn't do it again. But we made it work. But it really kind of it really reinforced to me that I can do that, lead the business side of a sports organization, and really kind of gave me the opportunity to see it done elsewhere besides Pittsburgh, and what it takes and the building blocks and the foundation that you really have to start with in building a brand and building a team, and building a new arena. Because that's really what they brought me up there for, is to help lead that project and get shovel in the ground. So I had a great opportunity to kind of lead all of that, and continue to reinforce that I just love what I do. I like being a builder of teams, a builder of brands, and a builder of arenas. And so that opportunity was great. But lo and behold, I got Nikki and the family. I was up there for 9 months commuting. Nikki and the family finally joined me because they were finishing out school, finishing out activities, joined me in August, and literally in October. So they were up there August, September, and October. And in October was when Bob Nutting called me and asked me if I'd be interested in coming back to Pittsburgh and running everything, both business and baseball, for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And so it was one of those, Bob, I really wasn't expecting this call. Flattered, but this is another conversation I need to have with my wife.
Uh-huh.
And so
Exactly.
and so we had, it was funny. Nikki was actually our daughter Lucia, who you well know. Daughter Lucia was actually at Lincoln Park. We left her behind for her senior year so she could finish out there. She was in the middle of a performance of a play she was in. Nikki had flown back to Pittsburgh to be part of her opening night. I texted Nikki that evening and said, hey, what do you think about moving back to Pittsburgh? And she said, you're kidding, right? And I said, no, I'm being serious. Bob Nutting called me. I'd given her the heads up Bob called, but I thought Bob was just calling to catch up, because he and I often did that and knew one another. And for my days of being Pirates outside counsel. And so I said, no, I'm not kidding. There's a real opportunity here. Are you interested? And she said, let's talk when I get back to New York. She on Sunday night, we talked and said, you know what, let's at least explore it. Let's see where it heads. And which I did. And as life intersects our profession sometime, literally 2 days after that was when we found out my father-in-law had pancreatic cancer. And so the combination of an unbelievable opportunity to come back to the city we loved, to the team that I loved, to a sport that I was really passionate about. I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball. It was my first love. I was never a hockey person. I was in the hockey business, but I never played hockey growing up. So baseball was my passion, and to oversee both the baseball and business side, and then to be able to bring Nikki back and the kids back to be around my father-in-law, all of that culminated into just an absolute unbelievable opportunity for us. And we slid right back into Pittsburgh like we had never left. And it was just tremendous. I jokingly say that Nikki and the kids got a 3-month vacation in New York, and I had a 1-year sabbatical. And so
that sounds about right.
One heck of one, but it was a ton of fun. Never thought I would have left that opportunity, because it was great. But we ran towards an unbelievable opportunity here in Pittsburgh, and I've never looked back, and it's been great. And but we learn from each step along the way, right?
That's right.
Throughout our career, and we take all the great things that we've learned, and we build on it, and we take it to the next opportunity, and we not only do that, but we learn more as we're going along, and continue to get better and improve day in and day out, which is really what I've done over the past year and a half here in Pittsburgh with the Pirates.
Well, I mean, this is perfect because my next question is really about facing challenges, right? I mean, nothing is smooth sailing, right?
Yep.
There's so many obstacles and challenges along the way. What advice do you have for people that are maybe currently climbing, that are going through these, challenges? They're facing these obstacles. You seem to have transitioned and moved. And what is that movie? Dodgeball, Dodge, Duck, Dive, Dodge, or something. I love that movie. I have to watch it. But it's like one of those things where you have to be able to go with the ebb and flow. And so, do you have any advice or any situation that you can share with us that was a huge challenge that you had to face and overcome?
Yeah, I think my biggest transition in my career, frankly, was the transition from a legal mindset to a business mindset. Um, because when I joined the Penguins early, I was still general counsel, so I had to maintain that legal mindset. And when you're the lawyer for a company, you have to think about risk and how do you mitigate that risk and how do you take calculated risk, and you're typically fairly conservative. And so, transitioning into a business mindset where all of a sudden I'm in charge of sales and marketing, and we've got to take all kinds of risk in order to be able to drive the business. And so that transition and that balance was something that I know I'd say I struggled with as much as it just something that I had to be mindful of and really adjust my thinking. And now I've kind of abandoned the legal mindset altogether, and the lawyers hate me for that because I want to take all kinds of risk, and they're like, no, you can't quite do that, Travis. So I've become what I thought at one, I've become that client that was a nightmare that I used to complain about. I've become that person. No, in all seriousness, though, there is that shift, and so I think for people, you just have to. I would say that when you understand, when you are faced with a transitional moment like that, or with something that you maybe are struggling with on how to do it, I think the best thing is frankly just making sure that you're really true and real with yourself, right? I mean, be honest with yourself. It is something that I had to overcome. It is something that I knew was quote unquote a flaw, if you will, at that point in time in my career, because it maybe if was holding me back from doing great things in the business side and being creative and innovative, which often requires you to take risk. And so for me, that I rationalized that, understood it, and really was intentional about how do you overcome that, and put your own personal development plan, if you will, together on how you're going to think differently going into different situations. So for me, that was probably just one example. I'm sure there's plenty of others of ways that you have to overcome something in your career.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much. I born and raised in Pittsburgh. You know this. I love Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, the city of champions, is not something that has come just as a nickname. We
Nope.
are the city of champions, and so when you look back at your time with the Pittsburgh Penguins as chief operating officer, was there any what did you enjoy the most about your time there?
Yeah. Well, I think people would laugh if I didn't at least mention the three cups, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I had an unbelievable run there. I mean, not many people in their career get an opportunity to step in, and day one, their first day of work, they're going to the first game of the Stanley Cup Finals in 2008. We of course lost to Detroit that year, came back the next year and won, and got some really cool experiences through that. And then of course coming back and doing back to back in 16 and 17, and that was just the excitement that you were able to bring to people's lives, and the memories that you were able to give them through those playoff runs, through those championship moments, through the parades, the celebrations. All of that was just really cool, right? So I'd be remiss if I didn't at least include that in terms of what was really fun. But I actually would argue that for me, I actually had more fun doing some of the behind the scenes stuff, which was building the arena, putting that together and really kind of putting my fingerprints, if you will, on aspects of that. I'd say, helping build a fan base, helping, create, we were, had a sellout streak the entire time I was there. Putting our television deal together, or converting the naming rights over to PPG. Some of those things that necessarily fans don't think about, right? Fans are focused on the on the ice stuff, but some of the off the ice stuff that we did as a team, I didn't just do it individually, but I was a real part of it, and building the teams, putting the teams and the plans together, getting people rallied around that, creating memories and moments for people in the building. All of that stuff is, for me, probably more. I'm even more proud of that activity that we did as a group, and we did a heck of a lot to transition that brand over the course of the 10 years I was there. So I think all of that is the proudest that I am, even though the cups were fun. I'm more proud of really what we accomplished off of the ice as a team.
Well, and it's quite admirable because it goes much further than a building. You're building a community and
Yep.
a sense of pride.
Yep.
And that is much larger than any cup. And yes, of course, that contributes to it. But you're speaking of longevity, and you've done that in so many different aspects of the city. And so now, I'm thinking about your path and current journey with the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? As the president, what are you most looking forward to as you enter this season? It's
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, I think we're excited because there's been a clear vision set for what we're trying to do within the organization, both on the field and off the field. I think first and foremost, what's critical is, I was there in 2013 through 15. I was there for the blackout game, the moment where Johnny Cueto dropped the ball and the home run was the back-to-back home runs. And I was there with my boys. And I remember what that did for the city of Pittsburgh. And in some respects, frankly, even though it was baseball, even though it wasn't a championship, in some respects, those were as memorable as Stanley Cup championships or Super Bowl championships for the Steelers. And this is a baseball town at its core. Yes, it's a hockey town. Yes, it's a football town. Those sports obviously get a lot of visibility and a lot of fans, but there is a baseball community here, and so they deserve a championship caliber team. And so first and foremost, that is what the vision we've set this last year, evaluating what we had in our system, what we need to do, and the vision and the direction we need to set. And we've made a very clear statement about what we're trying to do. And we've made some pretty bold decisions. Getting rid of some popular players. We understand that, but it's what we had to do in order to bring in young talent in the system. And then now it's incumbent upon us to take that talent and develop it and build put the resources in place to be able to do that. So for me, that's the most important thing on the field. And I think off the field, really putting in team, through COVID, we've had to, unfortunately, break this organization down a little bit on the business side, but it gave us a real opportunity to build it back up in a way that helps us to do what we need to do in terms of building the brand, building the fan base, improving the fan experience and journey, and continuing to make PNC Park one of the best ballparks in all of America. And all of that is really important, in my opinion, for creating lifetime memories for fans through baseball. And it's groups of families and friends that come together and connect, and people connect around baseball at the ballpark unlike they do in football or basketball or hockey. And no disrespect to all of them, right? They're great fan sports. They're exciting to watch, but I don't think there's any other sport that quite brings families and friends together generationally around a sport like a summer day at the ballpark in Pittsburgh. And so that's what we're really focused on. And that's the experience and the atmosphere that we're really trying to create and really focused on as we build our team back up and bring people together around that vision.
Well, you believe so much in the city of Pittsburgh and everything we stand for, from the actual athletes to our community and our fans. How do our fans compare to the pride of other cities? Right? Yeah, I mean,
there is. I mean, I've had the good fortune of traveling around and seeing lots of other cities. Whether it be through my NHL days or traveling around just in general to go see sporting events elsewhere. And I've witnessed a lot of different things, a lot of different sports, and a lot of different fan bases. I would argue, bar none, there is no more passionate fan base than the city of Pittsburgh. And not only is it, which is great, right? It's unbelievably passionate. But it's the city of champions. That sets a really high bar too. And that's something that you really have to take to heart as you come back into the city. And I pivoted to a different brand in the city, and it's one that we have to work to achieve that bar. And it's something that I take as a great challenge, but also as a great opportunity to be able to get us back to there so that we are on par with that city of champion moniker, right alongside the Steelers and the Penguins who are there. And so, but I will tell you, I think the closest, honestly, and it was funny, the closest I've come is probably Long Island. The Islanders fans are pretty darn close. They're not quite there. But I will tell you that the opening night when they reopened the Coliseum after it had been closed for several years and let the Islanders play there again while we were waiting to build our new arena in New York, that was a pretty special night. That was also the night that George Bush Sr. passed away, and the national anthem there, every person in there was both singing and crying at the same time. It was a beautiful ceremony, but that again, that's what sports are about. They're creating those moments that you can try to help curate them, but those moments just happen, right? You can't make them happen. I've seen where people try that and they fail, significantly, where they try to make a moment. It's no different than the arts, right? I mean, in terms of what you're trying to create on stage, there are just moments that become magical because of what happens, not because you contrived it. And so that was just one of those moments. And I think that was close to rivaling that opening night, just the excitement of people coming back into they called it the old barn, and just people coming back in, being able to go to out on Long Island, a place that they owned. No matter how bad that barn was, it was their barn. And, it was an opportunity for them to watch the Islanders again there. And then that special moment around the anthem where everybody joined in and had a moment of patriotism was pretty cool. And so, but those are, again, moments. I think the series of moments in Pittsburgh are like no other. And so I would say Pittsburgh in my mind is like bar none, not only the city of champions, but one of the most passionate sports towns that I've ever seen.
That makes me happy. I assumed. And so, I'm looking back at your career, and I certainly wish you all the best of luck moving forward. What do you love the most about your job? I mean, there's so many cool things that you've experienced. So I'm like listening to this, and you've got these Stanley Cups, and I built this building, and I did all the naming of these things, and I've helped the city really prosper. You've had so much in the contribution of the evolution of Pittsburgh sports. What do you love the most about all of this?
Yeah, there's probably two things I'd say, Kiesha. One is, I have the good fortune of being able to host a party for thousands of people almost nightly, right, in our business. When I was at the Penguins, it wasn't just the Penguins games, but we hosted, we'd host anywhere from 30 to 40 concerts a year. And those are just parties, right? I mean, that's what they are. They're big parties, and you're putting smiles on people's faces. You're seeing people cheer. You're seeing people cry. You're seeing people act, fanatically about what they're doing. And it gives people an escape or a release from the real world in some respects. And I think that's what the arts do. I think it's a moment to step out of your day-to-day lives, your day-to-day stress, which we need more than anything right now, and gives them something to be happy about, to cheer about, the highs of the highs, the lows of the lows, and just take that journey with your team or with that event or whatever it may be. So I get a chance, I get to be the host, right? And I love that. I mean, it's fun to just sit there and watch people get excited about something. I think the other thing that I really love about my job is that sports give us a unique position within the communities in which we work and play to have a real important voice to give back. And it's not just about check writing. It's the ability for our players, our coaches, our executives to all lean in when you need to. And especially after a year like last year, I probably realized the importance of that more than anything. When you go through a pandemic, and we were able to be one of the first to be able to respond with the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank and do the remote distributions. And, my kids, who are all home because we brought them all home right away, all joined me to go out and do the food distribution, right? And just to be a part of that and have a unique place where that voice carries much further than if I was a lawyer at Reed Smith. And no disrespect to lawyers at Reed Smith, but you have a voice that you don't get. And to be able to do good with that for me is another really warms my heart, quite frankly, to be a part of that community, the sports community, because we all do great things. I'm not saying the Pirates do it and others don't, The Penguins do great things. The Steelers do great things. All the sports teams do. The arts community does. But to have those voices, to do good with them and really make a difference and lean in like Pittsburghers do in these times, that's a really cool part of my job that I wouldn't have if I wasn't a sports executive.
See, I wasn't kidding earlier when I said you are a beautiful human being.
Oh, thank you.
So, but it's true. And that's why I think this is so much of a better fit for you. You want to bring people together and create something positive or an escape and these amazing opportunities for human beings to connect. And again, it's a testament to who you are as a human being. And I just, so much respect.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, in closing here, I'm so interested in knowing what kind of advice you have for any young hopeful chasing their dreams, right? We have lots of dream chasers out there.
Yep.
And what kind of advice do you have for these guys?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, and maybe you got it just from me telling my story of my career, but I always advise young people, take advantage of every opportunity that is in front of you. And don't be afraid if it may be something that's out of your comfort zone. If you feel like you're going to be slightly over your skis, obviously you got to be responsible and you got to make sure that if you are out over your skis a little bit, or if it's something that maybe is so far out of your comfort zone, lean on others to help you, but don't be afraid to take that opportunity. Don't be afraid to, embrace a challenge. Many times early in my legal career, I was doing deals and or transactions that were probably, things that as a young associate, maybe I should have had, a little bit more senior help. Or early in my career, when I stepped over from the legal side into the business side at the Penguins, I was doing things that, frankly, I didn't have, a formal degree or a background experience of having done it. I kind of used my instincts and relied on other people that had done it a lot to take their advice and soak it all in and learn from it. So don't be afraid to take that challenge. And every step along the way, when I made a career move, I was stepping into a challenge. And so I would just advise people, don't be afraid to take advantage of those opportunities. I'd say the other thing is hone your craft. Be good at what you do. I was first and foremost a really good lawyer, right? I learned how to practice law. Practicing law got me opportunities within sports. It got me the opportunity to go to the Penguins, and then I honed my craft as being a good business executive in sports. I soaked in everything I could. I learned more. I took opportunities to learn more and be around really good people. And I honed my craft, which got me the opportunity to go to New York, and then ultimately got me the opportunity to come back here and be in the position I'm in. And then last but not least, just continue to improve day in and day out. Don't be stagnant, whatever you do. If you think you're good enough, I can tell you within a matter of moments, you won't be good enough. I've learned that early on. There are times when you just think you got it all solved. You never have it all solved.
That's so true.
And I think that applies no matter what. I tell my kids this all the time. The minute you think you're good enough and you're the best baseball player on the team, I guarantee you next season you show up, you'll be in the middle of the pack. Tell my kids that all the time in the arts. If you give up and you continue to think that you're good enough and you rely on your skill and you don't continue to train your voice, or you take your dance lessons, or do whatever you have to do to continue to improve your craft, eventually the pack is going to pass you by. So always continue to get better every day. I learn how to be a better business executive every day, whether that's listening to podcasts, whether that's reading books, whether that's just simply sitting down and talking to my counterparts and my peers at other teams. I'm always striving to learn more day in and day out. I learn from our employees every day. So you can learn from many different places. You can continue to always get better. The minute you think you can't, that's when problems will arise. Trust me.
I'm so happy that you said that, because last week I gave my speech in class. It was exactly that in so many words. I said, don't ever get comfortable.
Yep.
And complacency will be the end of your career. So I appreciate this. I'm going to play this as a soundbite and be like, I'm not the only person that believes this.
Pay me to say it.
Exactly. I didn't pay him to say it. Haha. Okay. So now we're going to enter this speed round, which is just 5 questions in 5 minutes.
Okay.
So real quick questions. And I can't wait. You're pretty fantastic. This is fun. Okay. All right. So here's our first question. How do you define success?
I'd say being happy at home and being happy at work which is, not always an easy balance. But that finding that work-life balance and being happy in both places. Home is raising a wonderful, well-rounded family with my lovely wife, and being able to do that and make sure that they understand the important things in life: service, faith, hard work, determination, drive, all those things we instill in them every day. And I'd say at work is building a well-rounded team at work and making sure they understand those same core values: passion, innovation, respect, accountability, teamwork, empathy, service. Those are our core values and our mission. And so those are the things that we do day in and day out.
Oh, great. Okay, so my second question is, considering the team aspect of professional sports, so much of your success is dependent on the preparation and hard work of others. How does that affect your daily approach?
I think the important thing for me always when I'm evaluating how to put teams together, because that's really important, right? I can't do it myself. I have to have a great team around me. And when I do that, I always try to identify what are people passionate about. Because if they're passionate about it, they'll be really good at it because they'll strive to do better day in and day out. And so I like to put people in places where they have passion and will succeed, and then provide resources around them. So that for me is, and people here probably get sick of me hearing it, but that is my core mantra around how we build teams.
Well, I think it's a good one. So my third question is, what is your greatest failure and what did you learn from that?
Uh, I honestly, and I think everybody'd lie if they said it. We all have lots of them. I probably can't name just any one individually. I've had lots of them along the way. I think the key for me is that when you're failing forward. You're doing it because you made a good calculated decision on a risk that was well worth taking. It may not have worked, but you made the decision to do it. And most importantly, you're learning from it so that you don't recreate the mistake, right, or the failure. Those are the key things. So fail forward and learn from it.
Oh, that's great. And so, what are your current interests completely outside of what you do? What are your current interests and passions outside of being dad or being, you have so many responsibilities?
Well, I was going to say, Kiesha, I think you know me well enough. I think family is one,
Yeah,
right?
that would be number one, of course.
I've got a wonderful wife, as you know, Nikki, and I've mentioned her several times. We have 6 wonderful children. We've been blessed to have a large family. Neither one of us came from a large family, so the fact that we've been able to create a large family and just enjoy them. I've got age range from a senior in college all the way down through a 7th grader. They are great kids all in their own right, very different in each of their own right, doing different things. One thing that is a core thing through our entire family, though, and it's my second passion, is the arts. People are surprised by that generally because of sports executives typically aren't as involved in the arts or as passionate about it. But I believe the arts bring so much to people's lives, right? It's not only a form of entertainment, but I think it teaches so many different life skills throughout it. The ability to get up and not be afraid to present, to get over your fears of being in front of others, to be able to practice the discipline of a craft, whether that's singing, whether that's dancing, whether that's acting, whatever it may be. And I've been blessed with 3 in our family out of the 6 who are all able to do that day in and day out. I've got a daughter who is in Nashville at the Nashville Ballet. We moved her away as a high school freshman to go to Boston and train at the Boston Ballet. Wonderful experience. She lived with my wife's college roommate from Duquesne, of all things. She was blessed with a skill and an ability, and we invested in it to put her there, and it's paid off. And she just, matter of fact, sent me pictures last evening of her and her outfit of a community event teaching kids about ballet that she's doing. So she's doing all kinds of things, and she's got the core value of giving back to the community and kids, and wants to be part of that. And then I've got 2 other ones that have performed and had the good luck of performing on the stage at the Benedum in multiple different roles as kids, and have just learned so much from it. But the ability to interact with adults and not be afraid to do that, and to know the discipline of showing up on time, learning their script, taking notes and taking advice and taking criticism. Kids have to learn that today, right? You're not always perfect. And so all of that stuff wrapped up, and I know that's probably a much longer answer than you wanted, but in a speed round, but I think all of that from the arts, I love, in addition just to the beauty of the arts. I love going to shows, whether it's the ballet or whether that's the musical theater. We are always there and always supportive, and just can't get enough of it in our family. Even those that don't perform, and we even make them do the school plays, even if they don't perform on the Benedict stage. So, as you know, we've had a couple of those that have been
Yes,
drug along by mom and dad and
exactly.
big brother and big sister into school plays. So,
Yep.
fun stuff there too.
It's so great. And I just enjoy the the depth of the answer, because it's not just a broad stroke, it's actual rationale and behind why, right? Why. And so how do these, passions influence your leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think from a leadership perspective, you know, the importance of family to me, and that work-life balance that I mentioned earlier. I think when I lead, it's important for me to remember that, because I think that everybody, in order to be most effective in their job, has to maintain that work-life balance. And um, you know, there is no family event, quite frankly, that work needs to take precedence over, in my opinion. So the events happen and they'll never happen again, but work will be here tomorrow. And so we all are accountable. We'll all get our work done. But I think it's really important to always remember that. And I try to impress that upon everybody. And we try to really create a real work family atmosphere too. Like, we all know what's going on in our families. We all regularly connect about that. My wife is texting new wives as they're moving into the Pirates family, and connecting with them and welcoming them to Pittsburgh if they're from out of the state. So we really try to embrace that and create that as part of our culture here, and that's important. And I think the other part is on the arts is, I think it's really important that we in the sports and entertainment industry, while we think we do things really well, this continuous improvement piece that I was talking about earlier, we can always be better. And I think the arts do some things really, really well in terms of how they, the overall, what I'll call guest experience, right? The audience experience. And how can you put on a show? And what are things? I've gone to many different musical theater shows, or even little small plays at small playhouses, where I'll see an idea of how they created a stage environment and in a seating environment, and say, why can't we do that, where there's more interactivity with the set, with our sets, our field, right? How can we create that more interactive environment, that more experiential environment? I've seen where they've done lighting stuff, and I've come back to our game entertainment people and said, can we recreate something like this? This is like really cool how they did this. So I think the arts, for me, the enjoyment of the arts, for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, I think the life skills that you can take away are important. But I also think, frankly, that some of the entertainment components that the arts bring, we in sports and entertainment can learn from it as well. So those are the real two takeaway things that inspire me from a leadership perspective, from both family and the arts.
Well, Mr. Travis Williams, I cannot thank you enough for everything you do for the city of Pittsburgh, for our communities. It's we're lucky to have you. We're just lucky to have you, and your passion, and you genuinely care about bringing people together and making it better. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Kiesha. That's too kind. I feel fortunate to be able to be a small part of it. There's lots of people doing great things in Pittsburgh, yourself included. And so thank you for having me. I'm glad I was able to help out and join. And hopefully there's a couple nuggets here that maybe somebody will take something away from, and be able to continue to advance their career, or find something they're passionate about, and move forward with it.